We're live. We're live. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone watching us. We're live on LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube. Today is another special podcast, another special episode, and we're having as they say, the AI lady. Really, I'm so glad to have an AI lady with us. Really, hey Tony. So people starting, leaving their comments. So we're having Kathleen Walsh, and she's the director of AI engagement and also working closely with the AI community at PMI. She's the co-author of the Certified Project Management Manager in Artificial Intelligence. Honestly, Daniel and I are so glad of having her because she's going to deep dive with us on two main modules, let's say. How the project managers will use AI, because Kathleen, now with the release of the PMBOK 8, we saw how AI now is like deeply integrated in the PMBOK and definitely is going to be in the PMP exam and a few other certifications. So people are thirsty to know how PMI envisions project managers and project management practitioners in general to use AI in managing projects, leading projects, programs, initiatives, as we call them now. And also the other thing is, what are the different AI certifications that PMI offers? What are the conditions? Which ones are free? Which ones are et cetera, et cetera. So I probably think that most people would love to have an introduction from you. Who you are, Kathleen? What is your background, your history? How did you join PMI, et cetera? So the stage is yours. Thank you so much, Kathleen.
Okay, sure. Yeah, happy to do that. And thanks for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to this discussion. So for folks that don't know me, I'm Kathleen Mulch. I am the Director of AI Engagement at Community at Project Management Institute, PMI. I've been here for a little over a year now. So I came from the Cognilytica acquisition. I had co-founded Cognilytica with my business partner at the time, Ron Schmelzer. And with that, we brought the CPMAI certification, which is now called PMI-CPMAI. That was started back in 2018. So it had been around for many years and a number of iterations before it was acquired by PMI. We also have a podcast that I am the host of called AI Today, which is on season 9. So I encourage you to go to wherever you listen to podcasts and you can check it out. We have over 520 episodes. And I actually did a few podcasts at Global Summit, which just happened last week. So for folks that know PMI, that's our biggest event of the year. It was in Phoenix, Arizona. And so I got to interview a few different folks there. So definitely check that out. We publish every other Wednesday. And so this week we published one of the podcasts that I recorded at Global Summit. And then we also brought content with us as well, which has been repurposed into the PMI.org blog as well. And then I guess a bit about my background too, like what brought me into this, right? So I've been focused in the AI space for about a decade now. Before that, I was in data analytics, which everybody knows data is the heart of AI. So it fed real nicely into AI. I know about all of the pains that come with data and messy data, right? Garbage in is garbage out. And then before that, I had been focused on kind of the startup and entrepreneurial scene.
Right. Great. So you and your business partner, you established how's it called?
Oh, an analyst firm. We were an analyst firm.
Right. Yeah. Right. Because Pierre mentioned that last week in his summary post. When he introduced everyone, and then PMI purchased your company, right? Kathleen.
Yes. So we were acquired. So Global Summit is special for me because last year, Global Summit was in September in LA. And that was when the Cognilytica acquisition announcement was made official to the world. So that's why I said I've been at PMI for just a little over a year now because we're in November. So I've been at PMI now for a year.
Wow. So lovely. So
that was good. I was very, well, not shocked, but it made sense for where PMI was trying to go, especially under Pierre's leadership, as well as the things you guys were working on. It was just seemed like a perfect marriage.
Well, thank you. I think it was too.
Yeah. But Kathleen, really a question. When you and your business partner set up that company, Was it for the purpose of helping people generally from all different areas of business, or was it addressed to people in project management specifically? And when you set up the company, did you ever imagine that a huge organization like PMI would ever come approach you and say, "Hey, we want to, merge from
Yeah, those are really great questions. So I think like everybody, this is why I feel like I can relate to much project managers. We stumbled into that industry, right? We didn't seek out to say we're building a certification for project managers. What happened is prior to Cognilytica, Ron and I were working at Tech Breakfast. He had started Tech Breakfast maybe in 2011, and I joined, I think, in 2014. So it was a morning demo series where we went across the United States from Boston, Massachusetts, New York, the Maryland, DC, Virginia area, the Triangle region of North Carolina, which is like Raleigh, Durham area, Austin, Texas. And then we did go out to Silicon Valley as well. Mostly we would bring people out there because they don't like to wake up early in the morning. But yeah,
Yep.
but it was really great, right? And we got to see a lot of different companies demo. This is when the startup wave was really happening. And in 2016, we started to see more and more demos around voice assistants. And we said, there's something here. And so we started Cognilytica as a boutique analyst firm. So like a Gartner or a Forrester, really covering the AI space. We, like I said, started out with that. And so this is back in 2018. And you have to remember what the world looked like in 2018. It was a lot different. We didn't have open AI. We didn't have some, and large language models put into everybody's hands. And so you had to build these, if you wanted an AI model, you had to build it from scratch. So as we were advising different organizations, they said, okay, well, we want to run an AI project. How do we get started? And we go, there clearly must be a methodology out there, right? A step-by-step approach. And we started looking around and there wasn't any. So there was CRISP-DM, which was really around data mining. And that was a nice foundation, but it was built in 1999. It was created once and never iterated on. And for folks who follow Agile, you'll know that the Agile Manifesto was published in 2001. So CRISP-DM was not agile and iterative. So we brought in those elements. We also brought in additional AI elements. And together, with CRISP-DM, with agile mindsets, we created CPMAI, which at the time we called the methodology the Cognitive Project Management and AI Methodology. That was, again, established in 2018 because it helped folks follow that step-by-step approach. And so we said, let's start with phase one, which is business understanding, figuring out the problem we're trying to solve, then move to data understanding. What data do we need? Do we have access to that data? What are the sources? Is it internal? Is it external? Then we go to data preparation, right? We have to clean our data. I said data is messy. It's never going to be nice and clean. Then we go to model development. So back in 2018, you had to pick an algorithm and you were building that model from scratch. Now there's different tools and you can say, well, how do I maybe bring that in if I'm running an AI transformation project? Then you have to test it. So we have model development and then model operationalization. That's when you put it out in the real world. Each sprint is supposed to be short and iterative, right? It's not supposed to take 6, 12, 18 months for each sprint. It's supposed to take just a few weeks. And so we went and started teaching this course, right? It started out as a 3-day in-person course back in 2018 because we did not do online teaching back then, right? It was considered less than pre-pandemic. Then organizations and also we started to get individuals as well, right? Project managers would reach out to us. And I also say we reach a project adjacent community. So that's data scientists and data engineers. Maybe more people, a little bit more on that technology side than the project management side. And we started to get people from places like Australia wanting to get the in-person training. And we said, okay, well, I'm based in, the East Coast of the US. It's a little bit far to go. So then we brought it and we were doing live virtual sessions. Then we said, all right, we got a proper LMS. We started delivering this as on demand so that people could take it wherever they wanted. We've gone through many different iterations. We're now on the 8th version of CPMAI, but the core methodology itself has never changed, and it will never change, right? You still want to follow that step-by-step approach. It's everything that's built around it. So now in this latest version, we've brought in agentic AI concepts and generative AI concepts. And then we walk through different case studies. And one of them is a generative AI case study. But the core methodology itself has not changed, just the wrapper around it, right? The additional content. And then obviously the delivery method has evolved over time as well.
Interesting. Just a question, sorry, Kathleen. When you said you're on the 8th version now you're talking about the CPMAI like from the beginning, but for the course which PMI offers now, the version hasn't changed yet. It's still the version which they launched last year is still valid, right?
No, so it has changed. So when they acquired Cognilytica back in September of 2024, we had the current version. That was version 7. PMI doesn't do version numbers. So that's where sometimes you'll hear folks talk about versioning because of Cognilytica, we did versions. And so we then brought that over into PMI systems. It was a transition, right? Then on September 30th of this year, we have now launched our latest version, which is the only version available, and that's called PMI-CPMAI.
Okay, now I understand.
As far, and thank you for the history. That's one of the things I wanted to ask you some of the stuff when we were at the PMI DC event, but I know you were super busy. Everyone wanted to talk to you, so thank you for explaining that because I'm almost into history of stuff. But obviously, I'm considering taking the course as well. I think it's very useful. It's one of the only things out there, and it's of course under the brand of PMI, which adds a little bit more to it, and certainly something I can see all project managers benefiting from. Like Ahmed said, AI is here to stay. We've talked about this many times before and all over the internet. It's not going anywhere. You have to know this stuff, right? Or at least a good foundation of it. But what some of the questions I'm trying to get my coaching clients and mentees to kind of go or take a look at this. And some of the questions that I'm getting back from them are, at least when I looked at it last time, there was like different versions. I know one had ethics or they were a little expanded. Does that still exist today? Are there like 2 or 3 different versions of it? And if so, what are the differences that people could expect in those different versions?
Yeah, that's a great question. So at Cognilytica, we had 3 different versions. We had our CPMAI Core, we had our CPMAI Plus, which brought in automation and RPA specifically and big data fundamentals. And then we had our CPMAI Plus E, which brought in that ethics, right? And our, I say responsible, ethical, transparent, trustworthy AI. And so it brought in our trustworthy AI framework. PMI doesn't have versions of certifications. They only offer one version of a certification. So that's actually what we did is we streamlined the learning and now we only have one certification to not confuse folks. And we said, let's bring in the best elements of it, right? And so we have our trustworthy AI framework that is embedded throughout the entire learning journey of PMI-CPMAI. So it's not confusing. So we have one offering and that is a gold standard certification now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And again, when I was looking at it last time, 3 was the number I thought I'd see. I said the larger one had the ethics and stuff inside there. No, thanks for answering that. And I think it makes more sense to just have one version, right? Especially as it's brought under the PMI umbrella. So with that being said, and Ahmed alluded to some of this, there are some other like generative AI, some free trainings and stuff like that. I'm sure sounds like some of this stuff, this remit is underneath you now, if I'm not mistaken. So where does PMI see like the AI going with the certification, with the framework, all the things? I'm sure you guys are working on tons of stuff in the background for, not only today, but well into the future. Where is this going? Where do you see that, the technology, the certification, and really how it fits into PMI's overall umbrella of training, certifications, and really trying to prepare project managers for the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we say at PMI is that we lead the AI transformation of project management and the project management of AI transformation. So I look at this as 2 sides of a coin. The first side is how do you as an individual project manager and a project professional use AI to help you do your job better? So we have thought leadership reports that come out that talk about, we have trailblazers, right? Which are folks that use generative AI specifically for different parts of their job and their workflows. And so what does that look like? And then we have e-learning courses. So we have 6 now in our
Oh, wow.
AI
I didn't know
portfolio.
that.
I know we just announced one at
Wow.
Global Summit, AI and Agile Delivery. So we have 6. 3 are free for everybody, whether or not you are a PMI member, and then 3 of them are always free for PMI members, and then a small fee for non-members. So it's a generative AI overview course, a data landscape for AI, a prompt engineering course. So if you're new to prompting or you want to learn about different prompt patterns, I highly recommend that course. It's free for everybody.
Yeah.
Then we have a practical applications of AI course. And so this walks through how do you use AI for different workflows. Then we have an AI in construction and infrastructure course. And then we have a AI and Agile Delivery, which we just launched.
Oh, nice.
So those are great to continue to help you do your job better. And as I had mentioned, we have a podcast called AI Today. And so that also
It's really good. I like it.
category. And that's obviously free, right? Because it's a podcast. So anybody can go out there, whether or not they're a member of PMI or part of our community yet or not, right? It's a great way to bring people in. And so that also helps with the learning and doing your job better, right? Using AI with tasks and how other people are doing it. On the flip side, we have how do you run and manage AI projects? And that's where PMI-CPMAI fits in. It still is unique in this space, right? There are not other methodologies for running and managing AI projects, which sometimes I still find surprising, right? We're many years in.
Me too.
I
You think there probably is another one by now.
Yeah, I would think that somebody would try and make a play, but nope, we are the only methodology out there. And that helps you run and manage AI projects. So a question that I got asked recently was, well, what is an AI project? And I thought that was very interesting. So what I said, and this helps too, because sometimes people think prompting is an AI project.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we were in Phoenix, right? And Phoenix has Waymos, so autonomous vehicles. So I said, okay, think about getting that autonomous vehicle onto the road. That's the AI project. Sitting in a Waymo is not an AI project. So the same thing happens for large language models. Getting that large language model out was the project. Using it is not the project, which means prompting is not a project. And that really started to help people understand the differences between how do I use AI tools and what is an AI project.
I love that, because even I talk to hundreds of project managers a month. Everyone still today, they either combine the language together, confuse one or the other, or just think, I use ChatGPT, I use it to do a risk model, and now I'm managing AI. No, you're not. You're literally using a tool to help you make a risk model. That's nothing to do with managing an AI project, which is not the same thing. So, and the way that you describe that, Kathleen, is so simple. If you can't understand that, I don't know. No, thank you for that explanation. I know Ahmed has a million other questions he wants to get on. One more question real quick. How many people currently have the certification today? And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so that's a great question, and I get asked that often too. At Cognilytica, anybody that purchased the cert, whether or not you sat for it, right? We counted that as someone who purchased, not necessarily were certified. Okay. At PMI, we do it a little different. So I will say there are thousands of people certified. I don't know the exact number, but thousands certified. It is the fastest growing certification at PMI and third in revenue, only behind PMP and CAPM. So that goes to show, right? One, the popularity in AI, how folks are really eager to learn this. And I have to say, I mean, it's been hockey stick growth since we've joined PMI.
I knew it was good. I got LinkedIn every other post. Usually you see PMP and you still see those, but I see this one. I see you commenting on all of them all the time. And that's amazing that even some of those other ones that have been in what feels like around been forever, that all of a sudden is number 3. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Wow. Third growing. Wow. Like RMP is not third. So PFMP is not, GMP is not, ACP is not. So wow. I didn't know that. Really. I didn't see that coming at all.
And it's such a short time too.
Yeah. Like a year now, Kathleen.
Well, a year at PMI, right? But it's been around since 2018. And I think we knew that we needed the brand power of PMI, right? Yeah. And that people would get really excited. It helped it helped validate. Remember, I said the methodology has not changed, but it really helped provide kind of that stamp of approval onto this and say, this is what it needed. And I'm excited about it because at the end of the day, I want folks to be successful when it comes to AI projects.
Wow. Wow. So, Kathy, if I would ask a technical question, because I know some people watching us, they have technical questions. What's different in managing AI projects when it comes to the framework or the approach or the methodology itself? I managed AI projects since the time I was, at IBM. Later on, when I was in Switzerland with this automotive company called Solera, etc. So we were using AI. So we were basically following agile or waterfall, okay, depending on the approach from the PMO or the approach that fits the project. So what's different in the approach you defined for managing AI projects? If we get a little technical, please.
Yeah. So earlier I had said that they are data, right? Data is the heart of AI. And so I will regularly give a talk on common reasons why AI projects fail and then how you can avoid that, right? Because I always think learn from others. One of the common reasons why AI projects fail is because you treat your AI projects like a software application development project. And if you do that, you're going to quickly realize that it fails. Why? When it comes to software, what's the most important part? The code, right? The code is the most important part. You would never give that away. When it comes to AI projects, the data is the most important part. So if you are not using a data-centric methodology, you're not asking the right questions, doing it in the right order, in the right flow. And I've obviously, right, been doing this for a long time, so I'm a big advocate of it. But then I talked to customers and clients and people that have used it, and they said, yes, our projects were in the red. We were running it, a traditional agile. Yes, of course, you're bringing in an agile mindset and you want agility in these projects, but you're not following it in like a traditional agile flow. They brought in CPMAI and their projects were green. And so I'm actually working now for 2026 to get case studies out there so that we can talk about this. So it'll be both in the podcast where I'm going to be interviewing folks and then working with our marketing team to say, now let's put out some of these case studies so folks can see how this is being used in the real world and how it's actually helped move projects forward.
That's awesome. One of the questions I had for you are there case studies? I've listened to all the episodes, well, not all, but I've listened to a lot of episodes recently, especially in preparation for this, especially after meeting you in DC. It's really good. I was going to ask you, is there any case studies? I thought I seen one or two on PMI's website, but I can't remember if they were like real case studies or they were just like a write-up or something. So I was actually going to ask you if there are any case studies we could take a look at, because even some of the client work I do, they're in the same place, trying to figure out what to do, what to spend on, what they need, what kind, the difference between that and a project, what tools they need to support it, what education, training, what type of project managers they have. And it'd be nice to have some of those things so they could show, here's 3 or 4 implementations. Here's exactly how they did it. And this is where they got to following this exact framework.
Yes. And so that's what we're working on to get that formal writing in documented format with the podcasts as well. So it'll either be from that individual standpoint or an organizational standpoint. We do have interviews on AI today that are, over the years of folks who have gotten CPMAI certified and then implemented it. But I wanted to specifically have another, case study series now that we're a part of PMI.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Kathleen, now you mentioned the other part, which is managing AI projects. Now, if we go to the part that probably many people are asking about, which is in waterfall projects or in agile projects or in hybrid projects. There are other types of project management. We're going to stick just to these 3, which most people are interested in because of the CAPM or the PMP exam or whatever, other certifications. How, Kathleen, you and your team envision the use of AI by the project management practitioners in such regular projects? I'll call them regular projects.
Yeah. So you're saying, how do they use tools within their current workflows to help them do their job better?
Yeah.
So we've seen that in a number of different ways where, right, creating a project charter. Why should we be doing that from scratch anymore? Use generative AI to help you with that, right? Risk registers, Also with stakeholder engagement. So how do you craft your messaging to be tailored for specific audiences? If you have an executive audience, or if you have, your stakeholder audience, if you're sending out a weekly email, whatever it is you're trying to do, we've seen a lot of success there. And those are just a few different ways that teams do it. You can also use it to help with brainstorming. And more and more, I'm seeing that as well. So, thinking about different ways, really using it as that kind of collaboration tool. And then even when it comes to things like scheduling. So, I mean, you think about what I always say is think about all of the tasks that you're doing that you don't like doing, or that create bottlenecks or cause frustration, right? Or maybe you're not that good at, and then see where AI can help, and then figure out what different tools you can use. And those are the parts of the workflow that you're going to have the most success, especially if AI can do that really well, like creating project charters or risk registers or whatever it is, especially when it's text-based like that you can use AI for.
So basically, you're saying that the kind of work we project managers usually do, like the work that like preparing documentations, updating documentations, maybe updating some plans, maybe because AI can even help you with forecasting, predicting risks, maybe taking notes. See, for example, I used to have a tool which somehow helped me. Whenever I went into a meeting, I did not need to take notes myself. It was recording, it was transcripting, putting that in a text. Now with AI, it can even organize that in a very nice meeting minutes template, which I set up, or it can propose to me, and then it automates, sending the meeting minutes of my meetings. That's great. Yes, so AI is definitely going to help us in automating. Let's start with automation. Automating some of our work, speeding. Automating is almost the same. Also can help us with updating our plans, because one of the things that we need to do the most as project managers is keep track of the progress on all the tasks, so you can then update your whatever tool you're using. Okay, either the teams update that themselves, or you track that, you do it yourself. I can see there is a big and fast evolution of AI. Probably, Kathleen, you remember 10 years ago, we used to use MS Project. It was the most popular tool for us. Okay, 10, 15 years ago, it was either MS Project or Jira. These tools, our day-to-day life, like that's what we do the whole day. Now things are changing fast and in a fast way, so rapid. However, many people are wondering, and here's the question which we really want an honest question from the great Kathleen. I have two questions. I'll start with this one. Can AI at one day do most of the project manager's work, honestly?
Yeah. So I think every project manager, I think it's beyond project managers, right? It's like, will AI replace us, and can it do our job better? One thing that it still can't do is those interpersonal skills. And so I am a big advocate of this idea of augmented intelligence, where you're not replacing the human, but helping them do their job better. And now AI has gotten to a point that it really can do that, right? So how do I use it as a collaborative tool? And how do I use it to help me? It's because it's going to offset some of those tasks, right? You can automate some of those tasks. Now, if you're still doing meeting minutes manually, you're doing something wrong. These tools have proven to be great. You do not need to do that anymore. And honestly, even creating things like project charters, if you're doing that from scratch every single time, you're doing something wrong. Use AI to help you with that, because project managers weren't hired to do meeting minutes. It's just something that they have to do. Freeing up their time allows them to actually think, actually get work done. So I'm a big advocate of this idea, like I said, of augmented intelligence.
Okay. All right. Okay, so if AI wouldn't be able for now to do the interpersonal skills, they wouldn't, and I think there are more than just interpersonal skills. Like now with PMI's focus on creating and delivering value, which is something we are looking for since a few years. It's like elevating PMI is elevating the work of the project manager in the PMBOK 8. To be honest, it's really elevating that to a higher level. We appreciate that so much because even though PMI didn't specify any tools in PMBOK 8 and will not, I think, because if you want to learn more detail, you go to our CPMAI certification, etc. But okay, let me take a side question. I want to leave the big questions for later. We talked about AI and agile delivery. How is AI involved in agile delivery?
Well, I'm going to tell you to take the course to learn more, right? But so to make everybody take it. I also have done some podcasting. So I went out to Agile 2025 this year and I got to interview a few folks with, we did 4 interviews there. So one of them was with Jürgen Appello, one was with Jason Little, another was with Anu Smalley, and the 4th one, those aren't in the order they were published, was with Jim Highsmith, who's an author of the Agile Manifesto. And they were really great conversations because it's how do you continue to practice this? So really one of the common themes was an agile mindset and enterprise agility. So how do we move to being agile enterprises and being able to like move and adapt, especially in the age of AI? And that's really an underlying theme. So yes, you can do it with, different types of tasks and how, again, because CPMAI has that agile mindset, right? So I say, think big, start small, and iterate often. How do you bring that in? But we're moving more towards this idea of enterprise agility. And what does that look like? And especially in this AI era, how do you continue to stay relevant and successful and have that enterprise agility mindset?
Good answer. Good answer. No, and I'm glad that you brought up, and you even touched on this on some of the in the DC event about the augmentation. And I love that you said that, and not just knowing you from afar and watching all the amazing work you've done over the last few years to really bring this to the forefront of the project management industry, among others, but certainly for our a little bubble, the project management industry. I'd love to hear that from you because you would expect, and I do talk to a lot of very well-known AI people or people that are writing books and stuff like that. They're very well respected and they stay in their lane. That's it. It's very AI orientated. It has nothing to do with project management, but it's very AI orientated. And they never either talk, discuss, mention, touch the person that's involved in that. And I couldn't agree more with what you said, Kathleen, right? To me, like I've been using them for about 2 years now. I feel like they're my partner. They're not even my tool anymore. Like we built a relationship. If you know how to use them the right way and do all the things that you had mentioned, they could really change the way you work. And then, which is good, which actually leads me into my question. And I think I might have asked you this on the stage there also. And again, this is something that I've been asked 1,000 more times since a month ago from a lot of project managers and I'm sure you know what I'm about to say. With that being said, still today, people aren't quite sure. I feel like at least the people I talk to are in these 2 camps where they're either they know they got to do something and they're all in. They'll do whatever. They'll take this course. They'll read books. They'll watch YouTube. They'll do whatever they need to do because they know it's here to stay and it's not going anywhere. And they need to be part of it, or they're not going to be future ready. But then there's this other group of people I feel like they're stuck or they're concerned that again either AI is taking their job or they don't know what to do. They don't know where to start. They're concerned. Some of them are a little bit older, like me with my gray hair, and the technology is already an issue for them. So. The second part of that, how do you feel, and at least your perspective personally, as well as PMI, is like, how do you think that's going to change the project manager's work? Obviously, there's going to be a certain percentage depending on your company or clients, where you are, the software you use, all the different things that make sense, all the variables. How do you think that's going to affect? Should people be worried about that, first of all? Obviously, it's going to take some of our job, but like you said, take all that stuff away. Please take that off my plate. So I can then have my one-on-ones, focus on my people, meet with my sponsors, meet with the executives, plan my next project, do all the things that actually make project management what it is today. So again, what do you think that the future is in the next few years? Should people really be nervous besides this course? And I highly recommend it. And all the other things, the resources that Kathleen mentioned, what other things do you suggest a project manager just kind of get them on the start if they're just trying to figure out where they are today, and really just try to quash some of the concerns that people have? Because you watch the news, Amazon's laying off, Microsoft's laying off, all these people are being laid off, and they keep saying it's AI, whether that's true or not, who knows? But people are scared. So they kind of want to know what's going on, like what's going to happen to me in the future, and what can I do to kind of prevent some of those things I see on the news every day?
Yeah, that's a great question. Lots to unpack there. So I'm going to start with fears and concerns because it's really important. And there's a lot of fears and concerns when it comes to AI. Not so much with other transformative technology, right? With the internet, for example, there was not so many. Yes, right. There's any new technology is going to bring that. But I think the fears and concerns were a lot different with mobile, right? With social. They were all different. They were all very transformative. Any transformative technology is going to cause disruption. And so I always say AI isn't a job killer, but it's a job category killer. There will be certain tasks, there may be certain jobs and roles that are eliminated, but it will create new ones. So 20 years ago, we didn't have social media marketers. Now we do, right? I think about Mad Men back in the 1960s. We had rooms full of secretaries. We do not have rooms full of secretaries anymore. We didn't suddenly, though, have mass unemployment. So we will have new jobs. But you need to make sure that you're staying up and staying relevant. And so when it comes to fears and concerns, I say, okay, you have to address people's fears and concerns, but also just start using the technology and playing around with it. And so if folks don't know where to get started, I say PMI has a lot of great resources to get started, right? Listen to the podcast. That's a very non-threatening way to engage. Take some of our courses. I just said 3 were free for everybody, whether or not you are a PMI member or not. Take them. Learn some of the foundations and the fundamentals. We also have Infinity, which is our AI tool. If you're a member, it's free. If you're not a member, you can get a 30-day free trial. Start playing around with it. Use another large language model of choice. ChatGPT isn't that intimidating. Or Claude, or use Google. Gemini 3 just came out, right? So just start playing around. And when I look at how to play around, right, because then some people go, well, I don't even know where to get started. So what a lot of people do is they start personally, and they will use it to help them create a grocery list, or they will use it to help them plan a vacation, or they will use it to help them do something at a personal level that doesn't have super high stakes. And then I also talk about prompting, right? And it's good, better, best prompting. Just put any prompt in there. See what the result is. Now, if you want to get a little bit better, you can take our prompt engineering course, use some prompt patterns, and put a better prompt in, right? Go and look at resources that are available. You can copy other people's prompts and then put that in and see how that works.
But Kathleen, thank you for that. Really, let me tell you something funny. When I was at the university in 2003, for example, what the professors were teaching us is something that was there for 10, 15 years, 20 years. And the professors were telling us this. We're in 2003, but we're teaching you stuff we already were teaching in 1990 because science was not evolving that rapidly. Now, with AI, yes, it's great advice is what you have shared with the audience here. Go learn, start from a podcast, go explore some tools. But the crazy thing here is every day we hear a new tech word. Really, like earlier I heard a new tech word from you, the augmented AI, for example. That's a new word to me, okay? Even though I'm studying doctorate in AI at the Walsh College, United States, still, every day, new technology, new tool, new way of doing things. You just learn how to prompt or to use some tool, and the next day there's a new version of it. This is crazy. The phenomenon, this is phenomenal. Like the speed of of things evolve and the innovations. Like, what to do about it? Like, seriously. Like, look, 80% of the people who are watching us are not IT people. Business, quality, construction, pharmacy, banking, etc. We need to share something with the people who are watching us, something that everyone would understand. And would calm them down and tell them you're gonna be fine for the next 5 to 10 years, okay? Because most people who are watching us are in their mid 30s, 40s, early 50s. That's 60% of the people who are watching us. Okay, it's still early for retirement, to be honest. So let's share something with them. No, like technology is evolving so fast. Maybe they're not, they don't have an IT background. So how to keep the balance between keeping up with what's trending, with what's new, to keep their jobs, or at least explore new job areas, and at the same time, use this technology, or I don't know, not let it threaten them. What to do? How to get this balance, Kathleen?
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying is how to non-technologists,
Yeah,
people that aren't maybe the most savvy with that,
yeah,
keep their job and move forward in this era. And so what I always say is don't tool chase, because you're right. A new tool is coming out every single day and it's hard to keep up. But figure out how you can use it to help you do your job better, right? How do you augment what you're doing? And then start also seeing what tools you have access to at your organization and start learning those, because you might only have access to a few tools right now. And so learn them. But if you are going to stay in the workforce, you do need to learn these tools. Like, this is not optional anymore. So you can't get by for the next 10 years not touching AI. And I think that that's also really important. Kind of like you can't get away with not using the internet anymore.
yeah.
I mean, you just can't. So you can't get away with not using AI. You have to evolve as an individual. I always talk about this idea of a growth mindset, right? And being a lifelong learner, you have to embrace that.
Purna Patel is asking, is there a repository of prompts that are available for project managers to use for creating artifacts, for example? I'm just sharing one of the comments from the audience.
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So that is around the idea of a prompt library. And so at PMI in Infinity, we do have a prompt library. And so you can go out there and use that. But what I also recommend is to get one at your organization. And so if you have a PMO office, or just a group of project managers, to start building out that prompt repository and then editing it and evolving it over time. If you don't have that, reach out to local PMI chapters, right? We have over 300 across the globe. So they really are everywhere. And start reaching out and seeing what they have. And then if also great places are, just find them on the internet. A lot of people will post their prompts, go to LinkedIn, do searches, right? Maybe even use AI, go to a large language model and have it help you write a prompt. So at this point, not being able to write prompts is no longer a valid excuse. And that's how I would recommend going off and doing that. And if you don't have a repository, reach out to others, start building it, and then you can build your own repository, right? And again, ask the large language models to help you write the prompts.
I couldn't agree more. And even we had someone a week or two ago, Charlie Hose, who does a lot of, he's a content creator. He talks a lot about AI, and he was even talking about prompting the prompt, right? Or I do that all the time, especially as I'm trying to develop my own little GPTs and agents for different things in project management, creating and managing models and updating them in real time and creating little personalities. And 90% of the things that I do in prompt, I used AI to help me. I might use Claude to do it in ChatGPT or Gemini to do it in Claude, using using them for different things, but ultimately coming back to one tool. But there's so many resources out there, guys. Like Kathleen said, if you want to exist in 5 years from now, or even less, 2 or 3 years from now in project management, you must know at least the basics. You must be able to at least have a bare level conversation with someone. You don't need to know all the tools. Don't go chasing the tools. Like Kathleen said, there's going to be 1 million of them. There'll be 2 more million more and 5 more million the day after that. But understand how they work, how they think, the logics behind them, the framework that through PMI and the certification. That's, at least where I'm starting to find success myself and all the people around me. And thank you for sharing that. It's so important that people stop being so concerned with this, get out of their own way, and just get on the next train for the future, because it's going to commence. I was around when the internet wasn't a thing. Dial-up came, and then DSL, and then you had like a DS3, and then now everyone has like 8 billion gigabytes to their house. It was slow. It didn't really remove that many jobs. This is quick and dirty, and it's coming, and it's not moving anywhere along. But separately, I started to get questions about the people interested in the certification. just like other PMI, there's a certain amount of questions. There's an hourly limit. Can you give us some of the requirements, requirements for the exam? Do you need experience? What the exam is like? How many questions are, if this isn't confidential, and really just kind of what you go through to kind of get there, what you got to do, any costs associated with that, and really just the full picture of people wanting to take the certification or are interested in the certification today or taking the word for it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have decided that there are no prerequisites other than taking our learning course, PMI's learning course, and we offer that as an e-learning self-paced course. Why there are no prerequisites is because every project manager needs to know how to do this, right? And project adjacent. And not everybody has years of experience, where some of our other certifications do require it. They, in order to be successful in that role, you need a certain level of experience, not when it comes to running and managing AI projects. So it's nice to come in with some AI fundamental knowledge, some PM fundamental knowledge, but we do not require any other certifications or years of experience beforehand. So it really is a certification that is open and accessible to everybody. And that was on purpose. And so, like I said, the only real requirement is you take our learning and then you can sit for the certification. If you're interested, go to the exam content outline that you can find on the page. It walks you through the different topics that we'll cover, but we really go into AI for project management. Then we dive into the 6 phases of CPMAI that I talked about earlier, right? Business understanding data prep, model development, model evaluation, and then model operationalization. And it embeds trustworthy AI throughout the entire process. The evolution of AI, especially with CPMAI, was that first people said, can I do AI, right? Is it going to, can I do an AI project? And the answer was yes. And then a few years after that, it was, okay, but how do we do it in a trustworthy way? And that's where we are now, right? And now people are saying, and now what's the ROI that I can get from that? And so that's why that is so important to be embedded throughout. As far as pricing goes, we do offer zone pricing. So for different parts of the world, it's different pricing. But for our Zone A pricing, which is in the United States, it's $6.99 for members and $8.99 for non-members.
Someone is asking, Kathleen, someone is asking actually 2 questions. For the PMI-CPMAI certification, here are his 2 questions. Is it recognized already by companies? Like, for example, PMP is the golden standard for project management. Is the PMI-CPMAI recognized by companies? Or because there are many certifications out there from different organizations and companies offering AI certifications like Google, IBM, other companies. So the first question is the PMI-CPMAI certification recognized already? And second question is the methodology outlined in this certification, this one from PMI, has it been already used in real world projects? And if yes, can you share some practical examples or references? This is what Bassem Jawi has been asking.
Sure. So yes, it is recognized by organizations, which is wonderful. So again, it's been around for a while. With the backing of PMI, it's really been recognized, and some organizations are starting to put it in as a requirement. One organization in particular that I know for one of their role functions, and that's a huge win. That is a huge win. That's how you gain major adoption. So yes, it is recognized, and it continues to get recognized the more and more that it is part of PMI's ecosystem. As far as the success stories, yes, of course there are success stories. So I had talked about earlier how I've had some podcasts on that, but I do want it to be more visible, more widely available. So for 2026, because I had wrapped up this with Global Summit, that the end of 2025 is going to be pushing out the rest of the interviews that I've done at Global Summit. But starting in 2026, the AI Today podcast is going to have those success stories that we highlight. So it talks about, why did you pursue CPMAI certification? How has it helped your team? So common things that I've heard, right, is it provides a common lexicon so that all of your teams can be aligned. Where in the past, you will struggle. So some teams, this shouldn't be the case, and this is why you have to get CPMAI certified. One team, they were having 5 months of data requests, and the data team and the tech team were not talking the same language, and so they weren't able to actually get the data that they needed. At another organization, it was a year. I mean, you think about what goes on in a year, how the world changes. Honestly, that project might not even be needed anymore. You can't spend 1 year on one part of one phase of CPMAI, right? That's going to be your data understanding. You're not even pulling that data to prepare it yet. You can't afford to do that. This helps provide that common lexicon, that common understanding. So we're all talking the same language, which if you think about, what does the PMP do? The same thing, right? That's why it's considered that, such a gold standard, and it's so widely adopted, because if somebody has a PMP, exactly the background that they're going to have. That's the same thing with CPMAI and the PMI-CPMAI. So now it's giving you that common lexicon, that common framework, that common understanding. The other thing that we have with our PMI-CPMAI is we have a workbook that we go through. We walk through it during the learning, and then you also get a copy of it. And so you are supposed to bring a project, but if you don't have one, we have provided a filled out workbook so that you can see what it looks like, right? And you're supposed to be doing this for each iteration, which again, if you're following, right, if you're a pure agilist, you don't like documentation. But in the real world, what happens when you don't have documentation? When you have somebody join your team or someone leave your team, that knowledge goes with it, right? And someone who just joins a team has no idea, and it takes them a long time to get up to speed. So yes, you need a little bit. That's why it's an agile mindset, right? Because you do need some documentation. And we walk through how to fill that out. We walk through at each phase. And so, like I said, we've brought in new case studies for our most current PMI-CPMAI, and we walk through how to fill out the workbook. And then you have that with you. So now you have documentation. Now you can, if somebody comes and goes from the project, you don't lose that knowledge, and then you can have folks quickly get up to speed. So those are really important. And like I said, we'll be walking through additional case studies, so stay tuned, because you can subscribe to AI Today so you can get notified of all of those upcoming episodes that talk about this. But it is really important, and I think that also helps provide some of that validation, right? What was the ROI that people saw? Why did they get certified? How has it helped their projects move forward? How has it unstuck certain projects, especially if they were not using this methodology and now suddenly they brought in CPMAI and their project was successful.
No, sorry, I was just looking at all the awesome comments in the side about this. No, again, thank you so much, Kathleen. Like, I was so excited to talk to you today because you are just so knowledgeable, and like you could just see how excited you are and how much time and energy that you put in this. Really trying to bring especially our profession, the project, bring this forward and make sure that we're aligned for the future and we can be successful as individual project managers within an organization and still create value at the end of the day. So kind of on that note, for maybe a PMO team, a project team, even an individual project manager or the organization, the business themselves, where, you're trying to figure out, you need to do this. Like, where does someone start? Like, what are some of the considerations that either a business, a PMO team, a program team, a project manager, what are some of the considerations that you have to consider when you kind of start down this journey? Not some guy using ChatGPT or some BA using Claude. Like, when you're really considering not enterprise tools, but just really trying to bring AI into the world that you live in, to of course manage projects and or maybe manage AI projects. So what are some of the considerations, excluding ethics, because I have another question about that, but just some of the considerations that you should have for any group of people trying to get them, get themselves on the right path to make sure their team is successful in the future?
Yeah, so I think it's important, yes, we are going to start running more AI projects, but really figure out what problem you're trying to solve, right? That's phase one of business understanding. Figure out what problem you're trying to solve. Make sure it's a real business problem, that it's not a little toy project, right? And that it's a big problem worth solving. And then you make sure that AI is the right solution. So one thing that we haven't talked about yet is the 7 patterns of AI. And that's brought in during phase one. AI is an umbrella term. And unfortunately, there's no commonly accepted definition of AI, which makes it really difficult to talk about because I may be talking about autonomous vehicles, right? I talked about Waymo earlier. You may be talking about an AI-enabled chatbot. Somebody else is talking about a facial recognition application. They all fall under the umbrella of AI, but they're all different. The data that you need, the time to see ROI, maybe the team that you need. If you're building this from scratch, the algorithms that you're going to be picking are different. And so back in 2019, actually, we said, let's break it down one level deeper and figure out what are you actually trying to do? And that's where the 7 patterns of AI came into play. And so we walked through that in phase one. So first, figure out what problem you're trying to solve. Then figure out if AI is the right solution. If you don't know if it's the right solution, look at the 7 patterns. And so at a very high level, that's hyper-personalization, where you treat each individual as an individual. You think about that as a marketer's dream, right? Because you're able to hit the right message at the right time with the right channel and the right offer. But you can also think about hyper-personalized education or healthcare or finance, right? How do you really kind of help treat each person now as an individual at scale? AI can do that. Then we have our recognition pattern, and this is making sense of unstructured data. So think about facial recognition. You really can't program your way to identify each individual. Maybe you can program your way to say that's a human, but it's not actually telling you who that human is. Then we have our conversational pattern, and this is humans and machines talking to each other in the language of humans. So you think about AI-enabled chatbots here, but you can also have translation, right? I travel now at PMI. We're an international organization. I travel internationally and I do not speak every single language of the countries that I go to. Now with the help of AI, I'm able to have real-time translation. I'm able to take a picture of a menu in Japanese and have it translate it for me. You couldn't do that before. And then we have our predictive analytics pattern. So this is taking past or current data and helping humans make better decisions, right? This comes back to that idea of augmented intelligence because you're not replacing the human, you're just helping them do their job better. Then we have goal-driven systems pattern. So this is really around reinforcement learning and finding the most optimal solution. So the city of Pittsburgh actually used goal-driven systems for traffic light optimization, where they said, we want to reduce idle time and congestion. And so they were able to do that, which was a pretty cool, real world use case. And then we have our autonomous system. So that the goal of that is to remove the human from the loop. So if you think about autonomous vehicles, right? You don't have a driver in the car. You need to be darn near perfect. That's the hardest pattern to start with. Yes, I always think about physical, but you can also have software, autonomous software as well. So how do you have it autonomously navigate through your entire workflow, right? Help reduce bottlenecks. And then we have our patterns and anomalies. So machines are really good at looking at large amounts of data and being able to spot patterns and trends in that data or outliers and anomalies. I think about fraud detection, right? It's really hard to program your way to fraud detection because the fraud of yesterday is not going to be the fraud of tomorrow. And so that's at a very high level, the 7 patterns of AI. And if you're interested in learning more, we have blog posts on this. I have podcasts on this topic. And also we have a free intro to CPMAI, and that goes into the 7 patterns in greater detail as well.
Thank you for that. I was actually going to ask you about that because I know when I was looking previously before it was acquired or merged together with PMI, I remember seeing a course. I think it was 2 or 3 hours long. It was an intro course that if you took it, you got a discount or something. But I wanted to take it. I don't know what happened. I never wanted to take it, but I wanted to ask you, is that still available under the new arrangement with PMI now that it's acquired the organization? And thank you for explaining that. I already knew some of that stuff, but I just learned even more. This has been a very good learning session for me. So thank you so much for that.
Good. Yeah. So our free intro course is available. It's free for everybody, members and non. We have significantly dropped the price from when it was at Cognilytica to PMI. So we don't offer a discount now for watching the free intro course, but we do offer 3 PDUs. So if you have any cert that requires PDU renewal, then you can get 3 free PDUs from it.
Nice. Thank you.
Nice. Kathleen, PMBOK 8 was officially announced last week. I see. LinkedIn has gone crazy, really crazy about PMBOK 8. Everyone, Daniel, you know that.
Crazy in a good way. Crazy in a good way, I will say.
I've
seen a lot of positive comments.
No. 95% or even more in a very good way. Like really, finally we got the book that gets us back to Pinbox 6, but with updates beyond Pinbox 7. That's
Yeah.
what we were missing as long-time practitioners. Now I have uh, two small questions. First question: was Kathleen and her team involved anyhow in the Pinbox 8, at least for that AI appendix part? Was there any involvement from your side?
So I am not heavily involved in PMBOK. So don't ask me too many questions, especially with specific people do that, okay? But I have looked at the appendix. I actually just looked at it 2 days ago, and it is nice, right? I say that is the TLDR version with how AI gets brought into the PMBOK, and so that was very positive. I've gotten a lot of positive comments from that.
Right. Okay. Now the thing I have a second question, and I already know your answer. Okay, but I have to ask it at least so my audience would say, "Oh, Ahmed asked the question." At least um, in the PMP exam, which is probably the PMI's most important certification, there will be many questions about technical ways of working. Now, technical ways of working that includes tools, not naming them in particular, but tools or ways how to technically do the work, and that mainly means or refers to the AI, okay, to AI. Now, even if you don't have the answer or you don't want to answer, because I know it's a separate team who prepares the PMP exam, but just your speculation, like what do you expect the kind of questions about AI specifically, which will be the PMP exam in after July 2026?
So you're right, I don't work on it, and I can't really share much because I'm not working on it. And specifically, right, we have teams that work on different certifications. I have had conversations though about this, right, with folks, because I'm regularly asked, well, how is the PMP going to bring in different AI elements? And what I say is that if it's for a broad audience, then it needs to be a certification that covers those specific areas. If you want specifics around AI, get PMI-CPMAI. And if you want to really know how to run and manage AI projects, then focus on that. So it's not an either or, but it's a yes and when it comes to those types of certifications. So maybe this isn't exactly the answer you want, but this is what I'm saying, that PMP has its core, it has its role and its purpose, and it focuses on one specific area. The CPMAI, the PMI-CPMAI, focuses specifically on running and managing AI projects. So for now, I do not see how, we were not going to bring in heavy elements of CPMAI into PMP.
Okay. I expected that answer, to be honest. So that's why I told you I can expect your answer, and I really love diplomacy in it. Are you a fan of PMP are you a fan of PMP or not?
Well, as I said, I fell into the project management realm, right? So I'm not PMP certified. I don't even want to speak to it. I'm going to be very neutral on it.
Good answer.
I can't speak to it. I only can speak about PMI-CPMAI.
Right.
But am I a fan of it? I mean, fundamentally, yes, I am a fan of it. I think that it's done a lot for the profession. I think that it's also provided that common terminology and lexicon. You know what you're getting with someone that's PMP certified.
It's actually, thank you for that. I expected both of those answers, and obviously we only ask, others are asking these things, but thank you. I actually had a question myself, but someone actually just asked something similar about this. Obviously, the framework, the certification, obviously we know this is a great way to leverage and build out and manage and monitor projects. As far as like KPIs, OKR, any way where we could actually kind of keep an eye and track, do we just ordinarily do the same thing we would in a project, just, create different things? Or does the certification define very specific things we could maybe add to the project that we ordinarily wouldn't in an agile waterfall hybrid project, very specific that maybe the certification or the framework specifically suggests doing as a good way to manage, monitor, apply governance, lessons learned, things like that? Or is it just, same way you ordinarily would with a normal project, it just happens to be an AI type project that you're managing?
So when it comes to, right, we have a workbook, and has you ask specific questions in a specific order for each phase. And that's where it is so important. And then what's, to me, different than some traditional projects is that you have to have that trustworthy element as well.
Yes.
And so we have different questions that you're asking and addressing during each phase as well to really tie that in. Where if you're, running a traditional software application like development project, you might not be asking some of those questions. So that is really what is fundamentally different. And that's why I think the workbook is important, because it helps make sure that you are asking the right questions at the right time. And so whether or not that's, what is the expected ROI? What is the, what are those different KPIs that you're going to be measuring, and making sure that you have that documented as well so that other people can see that.
Okay, brilliant. I mean, honestly, you did not leave room for many more questions, Kathleen. You're so good.
We got through so much, and this is really good. This is really good.
This is the most structured episode, by one of our guests. Really, so well prepared. I think you've gone through this. You already named few people you've had podcasts with. Come on, Jim Highsmith. I mean, I'm a big fan of Jim, to be honest. Since the release of the manifesto 2001, okay, not back then, but 10 years later, that's one of the big guys we look up to. So really, this is so well structured. Probably no more rooms for questions from my side. I really appreciate this. Really, you're so well prepared, Kathleen. I really appreciate this. Probably, as usual, Daniel probably will raise one or two questions from the audience. Maybe just one last one from my side. Your recommendations to the large audience, whether people have technical background, IT savvy, tech savvy, business people, whatever backgrounds, because we have people who are watching us and following what we deliver to them, even from people who have legal background, people who come from chemistry, people who really from LinkedIn, it's got 1.3 billion people. Okay, profiles, not people, profiles. Okay, so you can expect almost every industry, agriculture, textile, etc. So if you would give people some important tips from your side, what would those tips be? Kathleen, good question.
Yeah, I mean, I say just get started, right? And just start learning. So AI literally is impacting every single industry. And about a year ago in November, and we carried it through till July, we did an AI use case series. So we talked about how AI was impacting and being used in literally just about every single industry. And we did it for two reasons. Number one, people ask us, well, how is it being used in my industry? So we said, okay, let's have podcasts on this. And number two, it helps to hear how it's being used in industries that maybe aren't yours. So it can give you ideas. And to stop focusing so directly on just your industry, but open it up a little bit broader and say, well, maybe, yes, it was applied here, but I can expand it. And one of the key takeaways that I found from doing that podcast was the predictive analytics pattern was used a lot, specifically predictive maintenance. So when you think about how to help predict if a part is going to fail, and so you think about that with manufacturing, but you can use that with agriculture. You can use that in governments, especially when it comes to local governments and you have fleets of vehicles that are on the road. You can use that in the airline industry. You can use that in so many different ways. And that was one that I found was really one of the surprise use cases that was a common thread across so many different industries.
Wow. Thank you. There is a question here I put on the screen from Brian McGinnis. He's asking, do you see the question, Kathleen? He's asking, do you have any suggestions of training that one can take to improve data literacy and awareness, as well as basic AI and ML concepts to be better prepared for the certification course?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I had mentioned earlier that we have resources at PMI, and all of them are free for members, and some are free for members and non-members. So if you want, data literacy, data awareness, right? We have our intro to generative AI and then our data landscape for AI course. And I would recommend taking both of them. And then there's a lot of additional tools that are free or low cost. So I always ask people, I go, well, how are you learning and how are you upskilling? LinkedIn Learning is a great resource. There's a lot of YouTube videos that are great resources. And then I would additionally say, at your organization, if you have a talent development team, see what resources that they have access to that you can use and leverage, or ask others in your community. And if you're not even sure, just create a post on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Put yourself out there a little, and you'll be surprised with what people come back with. That's really great and very helpful, especially when it comes to certain areas that you want to dig deeper into. So I say I always ask others for those recommendations. But that's what I would recommend: taking some PMI courses, maybe listening to the podcast. We spent an entire year on our AI glossary series, which sounds wowzers, and it was, but it's really important because some of these terms are confusing. And so we broke it down in an easy to understand way. So go back and check out some of those if there's, specific terms that you want additional insights on.
No, that's amazing. And like Ahmed said, Kathleen, like I've heard you speak probably. I try to listen to everything that I see you doing. I see you flying all over the world doing all these great things, and you're so well prepared, and you truly get this. And knowing now, I didn't know that you didn't really come from like a project management kind of background, that you kind of started, but you literally changed the game for project managers well into the future. So first of all, thank you and your partner for putting this together and giving us a framework that enables us to, again, to be successful in the future as project managers. No one else seemed to be doing it. Like you said, I look long and hard. I find a bunch of certifications, but they look like they're mostly just trying to get money out of you. They're not building a framework that's useful, that you could use in business, that's had proven success, that you could, as a project manager, could use and leverage in your own work. So first of all, thank you for that. And no, I have no other questions. I learned so much from you. I thought I knew everything that you've been sharing, but you taught me a few things today. And a lot of thanks, good stuff in the kind of, so thank you so much for your time. I know it's end of year.
Daniel, I have a funny question to Kathleen. Come on, we have to laugh a little bit. I don't want to be serious.
Absolutely, I'll laugh a little bit.
But by the way, Kathy, I don't mean to be serious, but I'm so project manager minded. I cannot, I cannot hold it. I have to ask all those tech questions. Now, here's the question, a funny one. I want to ask you this, really. What has changed in Kathleen's life, in Kathleen's personality, and in Kathleen's way of viewing things after she joined PMI?
Oh, wow. Okay. I wasn't ready for that one. What I will say is that the project management and project professional community, they're very passionate. And one thing that has actually changed was not on purpose, but I was very North America focused, right? I mean, I still am. That's where I live. That's where my network is. I speak English only fluently. So for many reasons, I'm very North American focused, but PMI has helped give me a global perspective. Like I said earlier, right? I'm traveling all over the world, and it is really important. So I've been to Dubai. Africa's on my list. Africa is on my list. And I've been to Japan and Korea and Mexico and, other parts of the world. And also, even if I haven't been there physically, I talk to all of those people, right? And what I have found is that the challenges are the same. Yes, there may be some nuanced differences, but overall the challenges are the same. And that's one thing that has been really nice to help validate that as well, so that no matter where I speak or who I talk to, the theme, the question, there's some commonality there. And that's been something that's been really nice to see, that yes, there's regional nuances, and specifically maybe with certain industries, what is the role of a project manager looking like in tech and IT versus maybe healthcare or construction or some more maybe traditional, right, project management roles. But it's been really nice to see that commonality throughout different cultures and regions.
So you're happy that you joined PMI because probably it gives you a different perspective of things, maybe.
Yeah, right. And so then I've gotten to see, well, how are different industries doing it, and how are different countries approaching this, and what does this look like? At Cognilytica, we looked at different, worldwide laws and regulations, and how different countries were adopting and thinking about AI, where some of the big companies were coming from. But now it's actually nice to get to see that, right? And talk to people at those organizations and see it in practice.
Nice to hear that. We congratulate you again on the great job you're doing. I mean,
Thank you
really
so much.
amazing. Thank you so much, Daniel. You wanna wrap this up?
No, other than that, again, I thank you enough, and it was nice to meet you in DC. And again, I just really appreciate your time. I know end of year, you guys got back. You're super dead tired, I'm sure, but you still showed up anyway. And again, I couldn't thank you enough for that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Thank you, my colleague Daniel. Really, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Such a nice discussion with you. So fluid, really, so fluid. I loved it so much. Thank you, everyone watching. We hope that we managed to take most of the questions. By the way, guys, this is recorded. Yes, this is live, but you find the recording on our LinkedIn profiles or my YouTube channel as well. You can watch it whenever you want. So some of the questions which we have not taken, that's because Kathleen already answered those questions earlier. So just go back, guys, to the recording. You find the answers to your questions. Thank you so much, everyone watching. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Daniel. I'm ending this stream now. Have a nice rest of the week and weekend, everyone. Thank you. Bye.